Hello everyone and welcome to the 1988 Hungarian Grand Prix Round 10 of the 1988 championship season. This track is probably one of the most interesting on the calendar in terms of how the cars stack up against each other. There is only one real straight on this track, and even then you barely get into 6th gear, which means the engine performance is out the window. That doesn't really matter all that much. It also means the passing is an absolute nightmare, which means the qualifying results are really important here. And even then, if you don't qualify well, you can still make up some ground with a good pit stop strategy that lets you hop a lot of people. But regardless, this track is going to be one of the hardest to drive for me on the calendar because the laps are really short as far as distance, but really long as far as time. So the race is going to go on for a really long time. And completing 24 clean laps is going to be one hell of a challenge considering how high these curbs are and how high into the sky they can really throw you if you manage to get one corner wrong. Now, I don't expect myself to do stellar in this race, but I also spent a long time practicing, done many laps, and really tried to get my lap as perfect as it gets. Compared to the last time that I raced here, I already improved my lap time by over a second. But yet again, that doesn't really matter all that much in a track that really doesn't reward engine performance all that much. Which also makes qualifying a bit of a challenge because you have to stack a lot of cars into not a lot of space, which means that just finding space to do a decent lap was really hard. Not just for me, but for the AI in general, which makes qualifying results a little bit more interesting than they usually are. And there's a lot of drivers that can try to score points in this race, whereas in others they'd be having a little bit of a rougher time. But let's quit pondering and see how the race really goes. Alright, hello everyone and welcome to the 1988 Hungarian Grand Prix. By looking at the qualifying results, things are not really looking good. But I do have kind of an explanation for why I ended up only back in 12th place. But at the same time, it's sort of still my fault because I did mess up my very last run, which was basically my only run at trying to set a decent lap. Hungary is probably the one track on the calendar where engine performance means actually nothing. In fact, you could probably see if you, well, I don't know how many qualifying results I've actually shown because I usually start this just in the next session window anyway. But this is by far the closest qualifying that I've seen the entire season because again, engine performance is not important. There's only one straight on this track, and you barely even hit 6th gear when your gearing is low. So, so engines are out the window. In fact, the biggest gap in the top 10 or even like the top 12, I guess, if you include me, is between 1st and 2nd from what I know. And that's because PK out of nowhere, I have no idea how he set the 32.6, but he just came out on like his 5th lap and just destroyed everybody else's time and nobody could compete. And I have no idea how this happened because from the huge amount of practice that I did for this race and from the qualifying session, I've never seen PK do all that well here. But I guess the bright side is that in the race, hopefully his pace will be kind of low, so he'll be able to, you know, crunch the pack a little bit together and give me a little bit of a chance to try and score a single point. Because at this point, starting 12th, my only realistic goal is to get something like 6th and to just get a point. I had no idea that I'd be starting this far in the back. For my practice sessions, my best lap was a 133 flat, which would have gotten me into 3rd place had I pulled that lap off again. But my first run wasn't exceptional at all. Like I made a pretty big mistake in the first sector, which kind of put me down to like a 134 flat, and this would have gotten me like 17th place. Had I kept the time that I had in my first run. My second run got completely destroyed because as I crossed the line to start my flying lap, a back marker just pulled out in front of me and decided to do a nice little brake check into T1, so I lost like a second there. So there's no real point in trying to continue to try and better that lap. And then as the qualifying session progressed, the sun started coming down and the trees really messed with my visibility as far as like seeing the braking spots because the meter boards on this track are not very useful. In fact, they don't exist for a lot of the turns that require really precise braking. And even then, like going into turn 1, you don't brake precisely at a meter board. You brake sort of before the 50. Anyway, this race is going to be a big, huge mess. It is 24 laps because this racetrack is horribly short for how long it takes to get around. So, and I was doing quarter distance. So this race shouldn't be that long, But 24 laps around here is going to be probably the hardest 24 laps of the season. Maybe Monaco was harder, but again, this track is a nightmare to navigate. I really, really enjoy driving here. Like, honestly, I like this circuit a lot. It's really hard. And passing around here is basically impossible. You might as well just not bother trying to pass at all, which is why I'm probably going to have to run some sort of weird pit stop strategy where I stop early and try to end up in some sort of gap where I can drive with myself, race with myself, and try to get some positions with the undercut. But because passing is hard, it'll be pretty easy to defend when the people that I manage to undercut pull out in front of me. I mean, pull up behind me. It shouldn't be too hard to defend. The only real hard to defend spot for me is the front straight. But as long as I do the last corner properly and get a nice exit, that shouldn't be a problem because I can just hug the inside line and force them to the outside, and it's really hard to pass around there. So I don't know. This was one of 5 races during the season where the driver that I'm replacing, Thierry Boutsen, managed to get a podium. So I'd feel kind of bad if I didn't do well here. I'm still going to try my very best to try and get a podium. But I have no idea how realistic, not a podium, but like a point at least. But I don't know how realistic that's going to be, considering that my pace around here isn't so stellar to the point where I'm just beating everyone on pace alone. And passing is going to be so hard that at this point, there's only one spot in the track where I think I can pass, and even then it's terribly inconsistent. So this will be an interesting race where I sort of figure it out as I go. I'm going to, by my calculations, if fuel is okay, I use 2.3 liters per lap, which means that I should be able to do 10 laps on one stint and then the other 14 on another. And that should more or less, hopefully, yeah, this is fine. This should get me to the end of the race. I'm right now just debating because I didn't think of this before I started recording. I'm just debating when I'm going to pit because I know I have to pit before the AI do because I want to get an undercut. That's probably going to be the only way that I get places. But I also don't want to stop too early because I don't want my tires to be really horrible by the end of the race, and I also don't want to end up right where the back markers are. I at least want to clear the really, really slow cars so that I have some genuine clear space to drive in, not the sort of clear space where I run into a back marker on like my third lap out and just get stuck again. So I don't know. This race is going to be weird. But hopefully it works out. So here we go, 24 laps around Hungaroring 1988. We got help by our teammate there a lot because he either stalled or just got off really slowly. I want to hang this move right now. I gotta make this. Okay, perfect. That's pretty much the best start I could have possibly hoped for. Now you just gotta not let this Ligier go. Apologies if I'm not talking that much this race. There are basically 2 reasons for this. First one is that this track is genuinely hard to drive. And I gotta concentrate really hard. Second reason is I had some audio issues in the last episode. Because my speakers got moved around, and they're in positions that my mic picks up a lot easier now. So I wanted to get rid of that and use headphones for this one. So now I'm sort of being drowned out by engine noise to the point where even thinking is a little hard. Let alone trying to narrate what's going on. Because I want to do really well here. Nope. Not happening. It is genuinely difficult to pass around here, but right now I can't even put myself into a position where I can do that. I just gotta stick with this Ligier. And not let him get too far away from me, because I gotta catch a slipstream on the front straight. If I want to really keep those Williams behind me. That corner's a lot of fun, but it's really, really dangerous. But this third sector is just so hard to nail, and I couldn't even really figure out how to drive it properly in the first place. Because the gearing around there is really complicated as well. In fact, gearing around this whole circuit is probably the biggest challenge in trying to get a good setup. Because there's no one good gear setup that makes gearing easy around this whole circuit. There's always going to be a corner that you really feel like you're either pushing the rev limiter or shifting too soon. Oh, boy. No! And that mistake cost me 8th place. Almost cost me 9th as well. I keep going for too much around that corner. Because I know that part of the track is the one part of the track where I can get some good ground on the AI. But now I really hurt my chances here of scoring points. And that was only 4 laps. This track is an actual nightmare to drive a lot because it's just so challenging. Oh no. I need to stop making mistakes right now. So I'm just genuinely getting frustrated right now. With lack of progress, but also just the amount of times I've already messed up. Because had I gotten past that Licia, I would have had a really good shot at chasing down the top 6. But now, even if I do manage to catch up to Nigel Mansell, that's another 2 spots before I am even close to points. Luckily, we caught back up, so if the AI make a mistake, I'll be able to capitalize. But even then, even they know that trying to make a move around here is just a waste of time. And I am going to be under pressure from my teammate now. But if I had to give up a spot to anybody, that would be the one person I'd be okay with, because Nannini has had trouble this season scoring points. Oh. But at this point, I think points might be out the window. We'll see around pit stops. If I really have the pace to make this happen. The difficulty here is that you want to get as close as you can to the curbs. But the moment you touch one, you just get sent flying. It's actually a little ridiculous. And I'm really glad that this corner that I'm hitting right now doesn't exist, because it's just a huge pain in the ass. Oh, I tried. I don't know if that was a good idea. All right. Sliding back into P9. That was really hard. But I've set myself up as best as I can for the second stint that's coming up at the end of this lap. I'll be on fresh rubber, albeit a little heavier because of the fuel. So we'll see what I can do. I'm mainly just interested to see where I'm going to end up relative to traffic. Because it doesn't look too clean back there. Oh, okay. Honestly, not too bad. I'm okay with being at the very back. But now I'm all set to drive stress-free at least. Try to make up some ground. Drive some real good qualifying laps here. Not like that. Let's get those jitters out of the way. Please. See, that was a much better lap. And if I could have pulled that off in qualifying, then I would have been set. That would have been second place. But alas, it doesn't really matter as much right now. Now, once these back markers start becoming a problem, I'm going to start having some serious problems. One good lap and I just toss it away with a bad corner. All right, here we go. Oh, that sucks. But I sort of just have to go for it right now because the longer I stay back here, the more time I lose. And within a lap or two, I'll be caught up to the Euro bronze as well. Bad. That lap was a huge waste of time. But it's just one last back marker to worry about. At this point, I'm just hoping that everybody in front of me has trouble with their pit stops. Because knowing the AI, they're all going to come in together. The more collisions, the better. Okay, nice. Ugh. Oh, and that just completely destroyed my chances of finishing well. And he just had such a slow turn one, I couldn't do anything about that. What is that turn speed? Okay. Okay, so we're behind our teammate. Which means that if it wasn't for that spin, we would have been pretty nicely ahead. But at this point, we basically didn't move. We did get Mansell. So we might be in 8th or something right now. And it's just really frustrating because if I didn't have that one little spin there on the last lap, I would have been so much ahead, like so much farther ahead. That actually would have been the strategy more or less paying off. But now because my tires are older, I'm going to be just holding up this pack. Basically a sitting duck here. Now I just gotta not make mistakes. And just bring it home in the position that I'm in. Oh no. Really feeling the traction to start to leave me right now, but I don't really have anything up my sleeve anymore. At this point, I'm just kind of accepting my fate as a non-points finisher in this race. Got 4 laps to go. At this point, I'd have to make my exits really good. So I don't get nabbed in the sections that require good speed. Like here. Or the start-finish straight, really. And my teammate just gone. That's how much slower I am right now. But man, it's just really frustrating knowing that I could have been way farther up the road had I not messed up. But this track really punishes mistakes, so it is how it is. Just gotta really watch for that nose. If the AI puts the nose there, they're not taking it out. And my teammate is really like a second a lap faster at this point. Oh no. And there goes ninth. Well, at this point it doesn't really matter because none of us are scoring points anyway, so who cares? That's just Hungaroring 1988 for you. And you can really see how much I was holding Nigel Mansell up because he's just driving away at this point. And no grip at all. Sorry, Kojima. Man, what a miserable race. Like, it was still fun to drive. Like, this track is very, very, very physically demanding. And it's a lot of fun to have one lap that's put together well. And I'm really proud of that 132.8 because that's the best lap that I've ever driven around here. Problem is, when you have 24 laps and you make a mistake in every third one, it really starts to cost you, and I got a little bit too greedy when I was dealing with my the whole back marker issue. And that one little spin cost me a chance to get maybe 7th or 8th. But even then, I was so much slower. Oh, someone's out. Man, couldn't that have happened a lap sooner? And I'm just gonna not even bother shifting. I don't care anymore. But yeah, but even then, I was just so much slower because of the pit strategy. I attempted to undercut, but when you leave yourself running a 14 lap stint, you better expect to have really bad tires towards the end of it because that was just gross. It felt bad, and the thing is, it would have hurt more if I was actually fighting for points there. But realistically, I was hanging on to 9th for no apparent reason, so I actually kind of did my job because I kept my teammate from being attacked by Mansell, and that's kind of the best I could do. I had a little bit of an unfortunate encounter with him a little earlier in the race, but besides that, it was more or less okay. Yeah, let's get punted too for good measure. But oh boy, I don't know if I expected that to go any better than it did. Because honestly, Hungaroring is just not the kind of racetrack that I'm superb at. I really thought that I could qualify better than 12th, or wherever it was that I ended up. But in the end, it didn't really matter because I would have just gotten swallowed up by the AI. My race pace wasn't there this time around, and I'm willing to wager that it's going to be a lot better when we get to Spa. But Nelson Piquet managed to hang on, and even after pit stops and even after 24 laps, managed to win the race by less than a second. And the top 3 was pretty well packed. I got lucky there because, as it turns out, Prost and Alboreto are my 2 rivals right now, and neither of them really scored that many points this race. Alboreto scored 4 and Prost scored 3. So my lead is still something like 12 points. So really, this could have gone a whole lot worse if Piquet didn't do a good job holding everybody back from that good old 9 points. Because if Prost won this race, I would have only been something like 6 points up. And at that point, it's not really comfortable anymore, and you really got to try. And it was Gugelmin over there whose engine died on the in lap, so he's stuck out there, unfortunately. But man, that race was tough. I am not gonna lie, I don't know. I can't imagine doing 60-something laps around here in real life because their race distance, it was 76 laps. That was their race distance around here because how short the track is. But man, if you want a challenge, then this is the track that I recommend you going to because it is disgustingly hard to string together 24 good laps, let alone 76 or however many they were doing back in the day because that's just stupid. And I'm really glad that this track right now exists in a slightly faster state, but even then, Hungaroring is still difficult to pass on, and everybody knows this. But even then, it's produced some really quality races of the past 2 years, and even last year when Sebastian Vettel had the whole steering wheel issue where he was just facing sideways for half the race. That was fun. Anyway, that was the 1988 Hungarian Grand Prix. Couldn't score any points today. Whatever. I finished where I started, 12th place, so not really too sad about it. I was truly trading quite a bit at the end there. There was a huge gap between my pack and Nannini. Like, Nannini beat me by 14 seconds, but that was after the couple mistakes that I made. But even then, I managed to create like a good 9-second gap between him and Mansell. Nannini couldn't score points either because he would have had to get by or new and then make up another 7 seconds to Senna. So not really realistic there. I'm not really surprised by the results, to be honest. I'm just more or less surprised by how much Patrese managed to beat Mansell, but that's just how pit stops and me getting in the way managed to hurt his chances of points. But yeah, that was hard. I'm going to need a shower after this. See you guys later.